Hello. So I'm going to be having a conversation with Cody Fern, and when I see him here, and his request, I will join with Cody to talk about voting. Cody, why is it telling me that you're unable to join? I don't need technical difficulties right now. Oh, wait, here you are. Okay, let's see. Hello, waiting for Cody Fern. Let's see if it works. Sorry, guys, this takes a minute. Hi, everyone. I don't know why this is taking so long. This is super boring. Sorry. Let's see. I'm not good at technology, but it says waiting for Cody Fern, and it's not connecting. And this is a drag. Why is this not working? Cody. Oh no, why is it saying that Cody's unable to join me? Let's see if he's going to do it again. Okay, we're going to try again. Okay. I feel like it's something wrong on Cody's end. Oh, there you are.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
You know,
You're stressed out, like I'm stressed out, right?
I'm stressed out. Yeah.
Why are
It's
you
been
stressed out?
well, the free world is seemingly falling apart. We've been in quarantine for 7 months. 240,000 people are dead. There's seemingly no end in sight, and we have potentially a century-altering election coming up in 3 days.
Can you believe it's in 3 days? I mean, I've been waiting for this day since 2016, so it's crazy that it's here, but it's also terrifying that it's here because we're so close. And I know that for many of us, what happened in 2016 was really shocking and
Mhm.
horrifying, and now the stakes are even higher because it's not an exaggeration to say this is our actual democracy that's at stake now in this country.
Well, that's the thing, and I think this is something that sometimes glides by, and people think, "Oh, that's being dramatic. How could that possibly be? What does even the end of democracy mean? It's just that the person that you wanted to win doesn't win." And I've been trying to have a lot of conversations with people across the aisle, and particularly people who might not necessarily like Trump and not, like who he is as a person. They don't even like how he acts, but who kind of have the attitude of, well, how bad can he be? Um, and what's
Turns
interesting,
out pretty bad, Cody. It can
turns
be
out,
really bad.
yeah, yeah, it turns out we're in a lot of trouble. But I think what's been interesting about those conversations and what I've been finding, just even that what does the end of democracy mean, um, is it's not an overnight thing. I think that what people assume is that it transitions from, well, first we had Obama and now we have Trump and democracy hasn't ended. But it's actually a very gradual process where foundations are taken apart. And what we've witnessed, particularly in this last 8 months, is those foundations slowly being chipped away. Um, with the lack of respect for experts, that we now have the word elite has become the enemy. That to, you know, I don't want somebody who's just as smart as me running one of the most powerful countries in the world. I want somebody who's a genius.
Thank you.
And
Uh-huh. And like a
I,
policy wonk, like a political nerd who knows all about stuff that I don't know about. Like, I don't want someone like me running the country. I want someone, I agree, who's maybe a Rhodes Scholar or not went
Right,
to Rhodes College. Like,
right.
but a Rhodes, I understand what you're saying. Go on.
Or ran a college, of his own into the ground and stole the money of, thousands of poor suckers.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the main things that's been happening is you see that slowly experts or elites have been leaving or being driven out, being demonized. And so we now have the most incompetent and inconsistent and irresponsible president that we've ever had in the Oval Office. And he's surrounding himself by equally incompetent, equally inconsistent, and equally irresponsible people. And together, they seemingly are driving America into the ground with glee. That's the sickening thing, is there's a Trump up on a podium dancing. I mean, just
Oh,
yesterday
his
at his
dancing is brutal.
I can't even with this man. I mean, it's the hardest thing about it, I think, has been, when somebody says to you, "Oh, well, you're just suffering from Trump derangement syndrome," and you always have to think, when a country slides out of control somewhere else in the world, and people say, "Well, how did they not know about that monster?" You know what I mean? How did they not figure that one out? And it's not. This comes back to the point of it's not an overnight thing. It happens slowly. It happens by so now we don't trust our experts. Not only do we not trust our experts, we don't trust our institutions. Science is no longer a thing. I mean, a scientist said one thing and now they're saying a different thing. And so, well, they must all be liars. And they just hate Trump. Everyone just hates Trump. And so, we've got to do away with them. And they all
Well, he
just want
used that as
airtime.
a talking point in his rally. He was like, Joe Biden's going to listen to the scientists. Like that was a bad thing, that he was going to listen to the scientists. So
Yeah.
it's really, and the horrible things he said about Dr. Fauci, who, is totally nonpartisan, who's been the head of the NIH for many, many different administrations, and is somebody who really is our only guide here.
Mm-hmm.
And he isn't being listened to. And that's really, really scary. So
Well,
the
he's
thing,
the leading respiratory illness doctor. Like he's been studying these for his entire life, and the fact that but I think that's also just a fundamental misunderstanding and misrepresentation by this government of what science is. Science is not the absolute answer of what something is. Science is a process of trial and error and discovery and exploration, and you're constantly updating the information that you know. And if everybody could just get on the same page with the fact that science is not an endpoint, it is an ongoing exploration, that once we thought that the world was flat, and now that we know that it's not, and we don't go, well, they said it was flat back then, so it must be flat, we don't do, well, we do that now thanks to Facebook, but
well, I'm not, you know what? I'm proud of myself. Never had a Facebook. I understand that Instagram is now Facebook, but when I first got my Instagram, it was not Facebook. So I'm proud of myself for never having had a Facebook. But so here's the deal.
Mhm.
The only way that we can do this is to vote this person out
Yes.
and to go to the polls. So as we know, we are not going to know who the winner is on election night. We're not going to know. It's probably going to take days or weeks, God help us, until we really have counted every single vote. And as we know, something that's very interesting is the GOP has truly thousands of lawsuits all across this country trying to make voting more difficult for people and trying to make access to voting more difficult. And why is that? Well, because if everybody got to vote, they know they'd lose. So what they try to do is gerrymander districts and then say things like, oh, well, you can't count absentee ballots the day after the election, when people in Michigan, for instance, have been told that they're going to count them for 9 days after. So things just, they keep moving the goalpost. It's like Lucy with the football in the Peanuts cartoon. So
Yeah.
the one thing that we can do is have such a massive turnout that there's nothing that can be denied. That the turnout is so big that Joe Biden gets so many of these very important swing states, which it is crazy that, I live in the state of California, as do you, where there's like 40 million voters here. We have the 5th largest economy in the world. And our state is not nearly as important as Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan. It's crazy. So what I would like to encourage everybody to do, and what I'm
Florida.
Florida, what you would like to encourage everybody to do is to vote. And we're now in this last weekend before the election.
Hmm.
And there are people who might be scared to go in person to vote for lots of reasons, and they're valid and good reasons. We're in the middle of a pandemic, right? So that's crazy to think about going to a public place and standing with a bunch of people. Um, so I voted in person. I actually didn't get my ballot in the mail. Every single person in California got a mail-in ballot. I never got mine. I called the registrar, asked for it to be resent, and I still didn't get it. I went in person, and I have to say it was easy peasy, lemon squeezy. It took under 10 minutes. They have so many amazing volunteers who are helping at the polls. You can go online, at least in California, and I think you can do this in other states, where you can actually fill out your ballot online and it will generate a QR code for you that you print
Hmm.
and you take it right in with you. So you go in, you load your ballot, you scan your QR code, it loads everything that you're voting for, because there's lots of propositions and things like that, and you're done. And also, you don't have to fill out every single thing on the ballot. It still counts. Whatever you vote for, let's say you're overwhelmed by all the different things, all the local elections, although I would encourage you to please, because it's very important. Things really begin on the most local of levels. So I would encourage you to learn about every single person that's on your ballot and every single proposition that's on your ballot. But if it's too much for you and you just want to do the big ones, you can do that, and your ballot will still be valid. I know that you are from a different country, and that's why I think it's unique to get your perspective as somebody who left your country of origin and lives thousands and thousands of miles from where you're from. You came to America for a certain reason, and I'm sure those reasons are now not as apparent as they were 4 or 5 years ago to you. And what it's like as an outsider, you're not an outsider, but somebody who's not an American citizen yet. I hope
Hmm.
you are soon. I don't know if you'll want to be anymore. Frankly, I wish you'd smuggle me back to Australia with you in your suitcase. But how sad it is to see what other countries think of our country now.
Well, I've always found it funny because whenever Australia makes it onto the news in America, Australian news broadcasts that we made it onto the news in America. So it'll be like, Australia made CNN or Fox News or whatever it happens to be today in a report by
Really?
such and such. Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. And so that's always been a treat. But what I'll say is, so first of all, I have applied to be a citizen,
Yay.
and
What a weird time to do it, but
I,
okay.
and it was
I
just
just
before.
selfishly want you to live here so I can see you, but go on.
Well, and I think it's important to just say up front that, and the reason that I applied to be a citizen, because there are other avenues, okay? Like you can continue to work on visas, you can go with the green card. But the reason truly that I decided to become a citizen in the United States of America is because I wanted to be able to take a part in the process of a country that has given me so much and that I love so dearly. I fell in love in the States. I have a home here now. I have met so many wonderful friends. I have such a wonderful career. And I just love this country and I love the people of this country, as complicated as it is. I think that one of the things that when I was growing up that America represented was possibility and hope, and that you could be the very best person that you could be. And I think what we've seen, especially over the past 4 years, is a slide into why aim for the top when you can aim for the gutter. If we're all just in the gutter together, then nobody is better than anybody else. And I still believe that nobody is better than anybody else, but we can all be better than this. And the divisiveness and the hatred and the xenophobia and the racism and the misogyny and the homophobia, it's become so intense that
Mhm.
I step out to the OC here and somebody's screaming out slurs at myself, and my friends. And it's just, it's frightening. And it's frightening because this man who is in the White House right now is bringing out a darkness in this nation that seems to have been repressed, and he is not only bringing it out, he is nurturing it, he is encouraging it, and he is bringing it to the fore. And I just think for all of those people listening, when we begin talking, because I'm going to talk about voting in a minute as well, and why I think voting is so important, is that we can actually be better, and it is a more rewarding journey. It's easy to be horrible. It's really difficult to be kind and to be generous and to be good. And we can be those things. And this man is not the man who is going to get us there. He's so unbelievably disgraceful in how he has flamed just the most disgusting rhetoric in this country and worldwide. And so from an international perspective, I'll say I was just in Australia. I had to fly back to work, on a plane with a N95 mask and a shield, and
And what happened when you got there?
when I got there, I quarantined for 2 weeks. It was a government mandatory quarantine.
And they
And
pay for
then
your hotel. They pay for your accommodations. They
that's
provide
right.
you with food. They provide you with, you put your linens outside of the door and they'll pick up your linens and your clothes and they'll clean it. And wasn't there someone posted outside of your door on the hallway?
That's right. And you also had a phone call every morning from a mental health care professional just to check in and see how you were going. And then once I was out, it was the strangest experience because it was like being in another world. It was a parallel universe. People were in the streets. People were able to go to restaurants and bars. Kids are in school. That there are clusters of coronavirus that are immediately maintained. That you join up to be, if you go somewhere, they know that you've been there, but they're not tracking your every movement. And then they can say, hey, there was a coronavirus case and we're shutting this thing down. And so it's always funny to me when I hear somebody say something like in the debates or attacking, Joe Biden about socialized medicine and, so there's no such thing as socialized medicine. Healthcare is
Mm-hmm.
a human right.
Mm-hmm.
It's
And
it's
also in
not.
this country, what we call pre-existing conditions, in every other country is just called your health history, you
Yeah.
know?
And we are not living in a communist state in Australia. It is not slid over to the socialists who are taking all of your money and giving it to somebody else. It's just not how it works.
Right.
But I pay taxes in America and I pay taxes in Australia. And I pay more taxes. I've paid more taxes in the 5 years that I've been here than Trump has paid in the entire 5 years that I've been here.
Seems
And
fair.
and that to me is nuts. And so, okay, what's happening on the news and what's happening in the culture right now in Australia around Trump? It's unfortunate because America is no longer seen the same way that it once was. It is now seen to be, and I'm not saying that this is my opinion, but many people see America as the symbol of insanity. That this is what happens when things go so badly off the rails that you elect a man who was a reality TV star to make, a deal with Iran. And it's scary because everybody's, especially mental health, but everybody's livelihood is at stake because America truly is the crucible of geopolitical relations. And when it's unstable in America, it's unstable in the world. And because of the destabilization, people are afraid. People don't want to come to America. B, Americans are no longer welcome in Australia, which is sad just because only citizens are allowed.
We can't go
That
anywhere.
I know, it's
Nobody
insane.
wants us.
And people still are, this is the thing. I understand that people have to get on with their lives and whatnot, but all of these trips to Italy and now you're seeing the deaths in Italy going up and the
Oh,
deaths in France and the deaths in, it's like, guys, we don't need to go to Capri for the summer. Like, just put the fucking brakes on. People are dying.
I'm laughing just at, it's not funny, but
It's insane, isn't it? It's insane.
it's crazy. Yes. I'm trying to
And
make sure my arm isn't holding this phone, and I want to. Can you hear me still? Is that okay?
I can, yeah.
Okay,
And
good.
it's mandatory voting in Australia.
Um, And
If you don't.
I have an idea. Why not, President's Day, which is a day that banks are closed, it's people get off of work. How about make voting day on President? Make it a national holiday. People don't have to worry about running from work to go vote or not having the time. It should be a national holiday. The fact that they do it on a random Tuesday, it's just crazy. And that's why early voting has been so that we've had weeks and weeks to get our votes out. But I want to just bring it back to voting because
To voting.
the reason that we're doing this is the last weekend, and Tuesday will be your last day, and it might get a little bananas. And what happens, Cody, if you get in line and you're waiting for a very long time? Which, by the way, the fact that our country, that it looks like that when we vote. I mean, I have friends that are Canadian that are like, what is going on? Well, it's because you've got governors in Texas or wherever who make one precinct for hundreds of thousands of people. They make one polling drop box that might be 100 miles away from you. I mean, they do everything they can, the GOP, to make it as difficult as possible. Also, I saw a news story that they were a lawsuit brought by the GOP. They were unable to stop votes that are received postmarked on election day. The GOP wanted to invalidate those if they were received after November 3rd. And the court said, no, we're going to count them because you have up to 9 days. Because PS, when this was all invented, there was no, things moved very slowly then. So you didn't know like George Washington didn't know he won the presidency for weeks after the election because there was no technology. So this is normal to take a little bit, to count every vote, to make sure all of our military votes are counted. My point is that you're going to get in line and it might take a long time. What if you're in line and it goes past when the polls close and it's 8 p.m.? What do you do, Cody? You stay in line. If you are in line before the polls close and the polls close, you do not leave. They must count your vote. So you could unfortunately wait 5 hours until after they've closed. That sucks. And I'm going to be really bummed for you if that's what happens. But don't leave. Stay in line. They have to take your vote. Also, what happens if you are in line and there's some weird stuff going on? Like Trump has told people who support him, go out and observe the polls.
Oh my God. The Trump freedom fighters, show up with your AK-47s and.
Correct. So what if you feel that someone is intimidating you? What if you feel that someone's trying to affect your vote? Well, you call 1-866-R-VOTE and you report it. That is illegal. 1-866-R-VOTE. Now, as much as you're going to want to wear your Biden-Harris t-shirt, you can't wear any paraphernalia that supports a specific politician. You cannot do that. I believe you can wear, don't quote me on this, Google it, and it might be different from state to state or county to county. I believe you can wear your Black Lives Matter shirt, you can wear your Planned Parenthood shirt, you can wear all the things like that. But in terms of a specific political candidate, you cannot wear anything that shows your support of that person. So just don't do anything to invalidate your vote in any way. Also, if you have your mail-in ballot at home with you, because now it's too late, do not put any, some states are gonna let you count after. Don't take a chance. Hold on to it. You can go to a voting place and they will take it there. You don't have to wait on the long line. They will have a special area to drop your ballot already filled in, or take it to a ballot box, which are all over, and make sure that it is a true ballot box and not the fake ones that, at least in California, Republicans have been putting up so they can steal your ballot and not count it. I just want to encourage people, and I know you do, Cody, this is the most important election in, I don't know, a century. I can't imagine the stakes being higher than this. So don't be intimidated by a long line. Don't be intimidated by it seems scary. It's actually kind of fun. And I have Gabby Sidibe texting me, who's probably saying, when are we going to jump on and start talking?
Gabby, I
Wonderful,
also,
Gabby.
I
And
also
what,
want to say, I also want to say something about this, Leslie, which is to those people who may not have registered yet, in 22 states across the country, there is same-day voter registration.
yes.
So look up. Listen, I really want to try and be as bipartisan about this as possible, but the
I'm
best per
sorry, I'm not. Either you vote for somebody who is a white supremacist or you don't. I'm sorry. Like,
I mean, I'm there with you.
I vote. I'm like, for who? Let us know. And look, it is your right. Your vote is private. It is your right as a citizen, as any American citizen, to not disclose who they're voting for. I feel like I don't want to ever have it unclear who I'm voting for. I am a loud and proud Biden-Harris supporter, and not just because they're the only alternative, because I think that they're decent and good people who have good policies, and I think a Biden administration is going to be a thing of beauty. I think you're going to have Elizabeth Warren in your
Pete
cabinet.
Buttigieg.
Buttigieg, oh, heaven, in your cabinet. You're just going to have the most brilliant, incredible, diverse minds. So this is what I'm voting for. But go on, sorry.
I would also say that head to Michelle Obama's Instagram page. There is so much useful information about same-day voter registration, about the process, about voting. And here's the thing, for those of you, and it's very important for those of you who have not registered to vote and who can register to vote, or for those of you who might be thinking about not going down and voting, America, to me, is a process, and it's been this extraordinary process over the generations, and it continues to evolve and change. And we have taken a wrong turn, and we've landed right now in a moment in history that is frighteningly like that of the Stalin era or the Mao era or Hitler. And I know that it sounds like that's extreme. That's how it actually happened. You know, this is the slow process: xenophobia, racism, homophobia, challenging the results of the election, saying that you're not going to take them on board, calling for Biden to be assassinated, calling for your political enemies to be locked up, marshalling the police force to beat down peaceful protests. I was there at peaceful protests. I saw it unravel.
I want to tell you that Governor DeSantis in Florida is trying to pass an emergency order, and I don't know if this has happened, and I hope that it won't, that anyone protesting, anyone, it will be no bail, mandatory 60 days in prison. Well, jail. And for protesting, what? No bail and mandatory? What are you talking about? That is our right as American citizens to say what we think and to protest. What are some other countries that don't allow bail without a bail? By the way, don't get me started on the awful bail system here.
So just to say, this is the one of the final things that I'll say, because I know you got to get to Gabby, which is, you are in a moment right now in history, and you actually can be a hero in this moment. And you will wake up in a few weeks' time, hopefully on the 4th, and you will know whether or not you have taken part and picked up the sword for good and said, I am going to stand against tyranny, and I'm going to stand for what's good in all of us, and I'm going to get out there and I'm going to vote. Or if you don't vote, you will be sitting at home and you will have absolutely no say in anything that happens. You will not be able to partake psychologically in the good, and you will be responsible for the bad if it goes Trump's way, because Trump and the Republican Party are targeting you through voter suppression.
Correct.
They do not want you to vote. That's the MO.
Oh, it's not going to do anything. My vote doesn't matter. Here's what I'll tell you about that. Look how much destruction one person has done. Look what one person has been able to do with his enablers, but still. So Cody, you just said the most important thing. They want you to give up. They want you to say, oh, it's too hard. The lines are too long. My vote doesn't count. No, it does count. That is as bad as throwing your ballot out, what they're doing. They do that. So please, please, everybody, please vote. You feel so good. And by the way, I know that there's a lot of people that might be watching this that are too young to vote. Talk to your people. Talk your grown-ups, talk to your family members, call your grandparents, call your aunts and uncles and cousins and say, hey, are you voting? Have you done this already? Encourage everyone around you. Also, I'm going to encourage everyone to go to votesaveamerica.com, which has incredible information. Vote.com has great stuff where you can find out your polling place, any question that you have. It's also, like, I have to say that when you go to vote in person, everyone's like psyched, like everyone's in a great mood. And when I was there, there was a mom with her daughter, and her daughter was voting for the first time, and everybody clapped, and it was great. And you feel like you're really part of something, and you're doing what you really need to be doing as a citizen of this country. So Cody, thank you for your time. I know how passionate you are about it. I think it's really interesting to get a perspective on somebody who isn't from the United States and is living here and what they're seeing. So, you know, I love you. You're the best.
Well, I love you too, and thank you for having me, and thank you for doing this. Again, I think it's a really heroic act, and I'm just anything that I can do, and anybody who wants to reach out, if anybody has any doubts, I'll endeavor to get to some messages, even
Cody,
everyone knows I'm a recluse. But
don't ask him stupid questions about Michael Langdon, please. Can you actually ask him important questions that he can help you answer, like for say you think he's gorgeous and you love him and he was the best, blah blah blah. But also ask him.
And also, you know, vote Biden, Harris, and remember that Trump is never going to be a better Antichrist.
Excellent.
We had to end it with something from Horror Story. Just give him a little something.
Everybody watching, I'm going to be talking to Gabby. I'm supposed to talk to Angelica. She's flying in today, so I'm just going to try to get her as soon as she gets off the plane. Who knows? There might be a Paulson involved. She's a little busy today, but we're going to try to get her on for 5 minutes.
I was going to say, aren't you getting Mildred?
Billy Lord, who we were supposed to talk a little earlier. She's, you know, she has a new baby and she's a little busy. So if it's not today, we're going to talk tomorrow about this. Phone bank. Go to Vote Save America and sign up to Phone Bank. It's fun. It's not scary. Even if you're an introvert, do it. Do it, do it, do it. Cody, I love you. You're the best.
I love you. We're with you.